Hey guys, welcome back to Bixby's Beer Reviews. Very excited to have you here with me again today. Let's get right into it. From J. Wakefield Brewing down in Miami, Florida, we have Krone Kuchen. Now, Krone Kuchen is a Fritz beer, if I've ever seen one, because for those of you who speak German, will already know this is a beer that is named after a very particular type of German cake. The Krone Kuchen, or crown cake, as even non-German speakers might have been able to surmise, is a cake from the Frankfurt region of Germany. Now, I'm hesitant to recommend seeking out dessert sours as a strategy in the same way that I've recommended cocktail sours, in large part because, as you might imagine, seeking out beers that explicitly try to be desserts is like the fastest route to Pudding Cup Town, as it were. But here I'm actually very, very excited to try this one, because if you've ever had a crown cake, and there's a very nice German bakery not far from my house where I have, you'll know it's actually a much lighter cake than a lot of them are. Whereas if you were seeking out, say, a cheesecake sour, you might end up with a lot of heavy, maybe too intense stuff in there. The crown cake is a very light, fluffy, well-balanced, kind of subtle cake. And so the recipe here tracks pretty closely. You've got raspberry, black currants, hazelnuts, lactose, and vanilla. The crown cake, as the picture says, usually has cherries on top, but it can have lots of types of fruit. So a very interesting approach to putting a sour together, one I'm very excited to check out. So let's crack it open, take a look. J. Wakefield, one of my very favorite breweries to check out when I'm on my annual sojourns down to the Sunshine State. They make good hazies and they make great lagers. And I've also enjoyed some of their fruit beers in the past. So I saw this, thought it might be interesting. Also, can't lie, really do like them because their logo is also my initials. Might have to steal that for my business card, I don't know. Anyways, let's take a look at this delightfully colorful sour beer. As we always say, if you have a sour that's been adjuncted with fruit, the fruit is really going to dictate what the color tends to look like. So here, raspberries and currants have left their red mark on it. You also get a very, very beautiful, fluffy, persistent, and thick mousse-like head. You like to see that. As I've said in the past with sours, first of all, they have to be beer before they're anything else, and also a higher carbonation level can often keep them from getting too thick and bogged down with lots of adjuncts. So that's a good sign too. It is a beautiful, colorful beer. Looks great. Let's go ahead, give it a smell. A delightfully fruit-forward aroma. Those raspberries and currants are right up there in front. Beautiful, fresh, sweet, summer red fruit aroma. Very natural too. None of the sort of Jolly Rancher or other candy fruit sweetness, artificial sweetness. It's just beautiful, fresh fruit, which is what you want from a fruited sour. Not a lot of hazelnut or vanilla in evidence yet. We'll see if that shows up on the flavor. Let's go ahead, give it a taste. Very balanced flavor coming from the aroma. Again, the raspberries and the currants are right out there in front. And that's something you'd expect here. With a sour beer that uses fruit that can also be tart, you want to see a sort of convergence of the beer's sourness and the fruit's sourness coming together. One risk you do have with that, though, is if you use something that's extremely sour, you can end up with a beer that is just too sour. And I have to say that's not the case here. This is still a very light beer, and it is relatively dry in spite of the lactose. It has a little bit of a smoothness to it, which is nice to give something of not a cakey impression, but something of a little bit more of a full impression rather than just a pure sour beer. And it also allows the vanilla and the hazelnut to play up just a little bit. They're very subtle. This is not a sweet beer. It's not a cakey beer at all. It's a wonderful fruit-forward sour that brings just a little bit more complexity than you get from just, say, a plain raspberry sour beer. So very much like what J. Wakefield is doing here. There's one thing I see out there a lot of the time, which is that breweries trying to make big, heavily adjuncted sours with a large number of adjuncts are picking a number of huge flavors. And sometimes they come together and sometimes they don't. But even when they're good, they can still be just a little bit intense at times, where maybe a whole glass is just going to be too much. And so what I really like is what I'm seeing from J. Wakefield and oftentimes from Commonwealth, another one of my favorite sour breweries, is that Yeah, there might be a large number of adjuncts in this sour beer, but they're all used very judiciously, and they come together not just to create a wonderful impression that I think is greater than the sum of its parts, but also just to create a very balanced and moderately sour beer that's approachable and that a full glass of isn't going to be the thing that defines the flavors you taste for the entire night. So really love to see the subtlety and craft on display with this wonderful German cake sour that is not at all cakey. And so very much enjoyed sharing this beer with you guys. Love checking out some of these complex sours we see out here and trying to get a theory of how we can pick the ones that we know we're going to enjoy at the bottle shop. So thanks for joining me. Big shout out to Fritz for giving us some of his guidance again on the baking issues that seem to come up in beers so often these days. And I look forward to seeing you next time on the BBR. So until then, bye now.